better health. And thank you for joining us, South Florida and beyond. Welcome to How to Stay Healthy, a show where we take you on an adventure of health around South Florida and also beyond. If you've been with me for the past month, you know we've really went down on that path of health. We've had so many great physicians on, and now I feel like I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but we have like the grand poobah of all the physicians with us, Dr. Michael Dennis. Dr. Dennis, welcome to the program. I'm going to introduce you, but welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, David.
And thanks for making the time.
Pleasure to be here.
Appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time to come on How to Stay Healthy. And we're going to talk a little bit about a great summit that you have coming up that you were involved with from the get-go. So, but first, like I said, I'm going to introduce you to the listeners. If you want to call in, the number is 1-888-565-1470, and we're on the air here until 6 p.m. Now, Dr. Dennis, I know you have, your resume is one of the longest I've ever read, and I think that's great. Let's get right into it, though. You have a Future of Medicine summit. So talk a little bit about the future of medicine, and I think you had something to do with starting it here in Palm Beach County?
Well, I think it might be helpful to understand how it got started.
Okay.
It's sponsored by the Medical Society, but a special branch of the Medical Society. Every county in Florida and almost every county in the United States has a medical society. And those are made up primarily of physician boards. And understandably, they're concerned about the nurturing and the sustainability of their practices, things that affect them like legislation, remuneration, staffing, and so forth. So the focus is on the quality of health care provided by the physicians. But there's also a huge population of people, the patients that we're talking about here, you know, who don't have that kind of organization. So what our society did 16 years ago was to develop a services board. So it's the Palm Beach County Medical Society Services Board. We're the charitable arm.
Okay.
So, and our board is made up not just of physicians, but people from various healthcare fields all over the county, and in fact a few from in the state as well. So our focus has been to do things that will enable patients to get better information. For example, we have something called Project Access. We have over 700 physicians volunteering in this program. They're not paid for their services, but they take care of people that come in that need help in certain areas. They may not have insurance. They may have trouble getting their medications because of costs and so forth. So Project Access literally guides them through the process and gets them the care that they need. That has provided, David, over $13 million worth of service since it started, and just $1.3 million in the last year. So that's one thing that we do. The other thing that we coordinate too is and this is a very timely subject, is the Healthcare Emergency Response Coalition. That's a coalition of organizations, and it was extremely helpful during the Irma situation. Very, very active in that regard. We also have a Medical Reserve Corps. I won't go into that too much. The Future of Medicine, which you've mentioned, is one of our projects. And the whole purpose of it is to educate not just healthcare professionals, but the public as well. So these summits are set up to address issues that are paramount in the delivery and the reception of healthcare. Our goal is to make everyone healthier, if possible, in the community. So I've had the privilege of chairing this summit for the last 10 years now. And it's an annual event. We've held it at the Convention Center and also at the Kravis Center. This year we're holding it at the Airport Hilton in West Palm Beach because they have a new conference center there, and we're trying that out. It tends to draw 300-400 people, and we encourage the public to come. So I'm glad that you're putting this on your program.
Most definitely.
And they will hear about this. It's October 12th and 13th. In other words, next week, next Thursday
and Friday,
Thursday evening. with a program there, and that evening there will be a panel discussing promoting medical student and resident wellness, as well as the educational process that's come about. So I think the theme of the program this year is the new reality of healthcare. And I think the new reality, if I may say so, is the fact that we need more people involved in the decision process. You only need to look back at well, I wasn't going to say disastrous, but I'll look back at the ineffective effort in Congress a few months ago when 13 men got together and thought that they could somehow come up with a program that would satisfy the entire country in terms of health care, with the emphasis being either repeal Obamacare or revise it in some way. What's interesting is the public needs to be involved in this. For example, a poll showed that only 28% of the people in the United States realized that Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act were exactly the same thing. We're talking about exactly the same thing. It's just another phrase for it. So those 13 men that got together, they didn't, and I'm not speaking as a Republican or as a Democrat here.
One of them was a doctor too, right?
Well, one was a physician, yeah. But I'm not speaking as a Republican or a Democrat. I just trying to be neutral in this. But to think that group of 13, there were no women, so women's issues are a little bit difficult. There were no women. There were no members of the other party. There were no healthcare professionals. So I think the new reality, if I have to put it in words, is the fact that we need everybody involved in the process, particularly the public. There should be a public voice in the delivery of healthcare, so that they can assess the quality of it, the changes that might be appropriate, and so forth. And I would point out that there are things in the current bill, the Affordable Care Act, that are worth keeping. You don't just throw something in the garbage like that, because that, for example, that a child can stay on with their parents until they're age 26. The fact that screening mammograms are covered and so forth, vaccinations covered and so forth. The whole Medicaid program, which is massive in terms of affordable care, assisted living, and so forth. Those are all good features. Now, granted, premiums have gone through the roof because the financial planning wasn't that good to begin with, and the insurance market is unstable. But the way to get, when we're talking again about the new reality, is you need to have at the table not just the public, but healthcare professionals, the insurance companies, leaders of medical centers, and so forth. That's where we need to go. And that's what we're emphasizing with this summit.
That's great, and thank you for explaining that. And I think you made some great points there. Like, bring the people to the table, not just people, but people from you know, I hate to say it, all races, all colors. We need, you know, you guys cover everybody. So bring someone from the Spanish community, bring someone from the Creole community right here in Palm Beach County. Bring African Americans, bring Caucasians, not just you know, one group of people, and then also bring Republicans, Democrats, CEOs, nurses. Let's bring everybody that works at a hospital or physician group together, and then as a coalition make a decision. You know, I think that'd be great. I've never heard it put like that. We got to get this out to everybody.
Well, that's exactly what the purpose is. And the Project Access, for example, we see a very ethnically diverse group of people that come in there.
Especially Creole, Palm Beach County, right? Creole,
African American, Latino, and so forth. And they're all treated, you know, just as fairly and as thoroughly as we can possibly do it. There are no lines drawn, no barriers whatsoever. And
to the tune of $1.3 million in the last year.
Yes.
Yeah. That hats off to you guys.
Because many of these people don't have the assets to follow. They haven't gotten the advice that they needed on how to provide for their families and so forth. So that's what we provide for them.
That's great. I just want to get out some news on this. So it's the Future of Medicine Summit, the new reality of healthcare. Location is over at the Hilton Palm Beach Airport, 150 Australian Avenue. That's in West Palm Beach. you mentioned the great conference room and the great renovations there. I was there recently for a Gold Coast PR Council meeting. Fabulous. They're actually doing another meeting there. That's how much they loved it, and that brings together all the the marketing and PR people, everyone from Karen Cantor at PGA National to the hospital PR, everyone across all different business lines. So that's a great venue. So that's October 12th, October 13th. You don't have to just be a doctor or nurse or work in healthcare, correct? You can come and get involved, whoever would like to.
Absolutely. Anybody is welcome.
And I see,
and we encourage them to come.
Definitely. And you can get some information on, I got mine off the, it looks like the Central Palm Beach County Chamber of Commerce website is where I found a lot of the info. That's a good place to start, or Palm Beach County Medical Society's website. You can just look it up. I don't have it right here in front of me.
That's probably the most thorough one.
PBCMS.
Yeah.
That's the acronym
That
there.
website. That lays out exactly the speakers and so forth. And we have some very, very good speakers.
I know. I was looking at the panel. I'm amazed at how many people you're going to get in front of everyone who attends. It's amazing. I mean, dermatologists, internal medicine. It just goes on and on. Geriatrics, I'm seeing.
Well, we have one of the best economic advisors in the country, this fellow Goldsmith, who's coming to discuss the financial realities of healthcare.
Big time.
And we also have the head of the Jefferson College Population Health from Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, that's prestigious.
And he's one of the keynote speakers talking about population health, because I think you can see from the titles in this, if you look through all of them, that the focus is on improving the health care for everyone.
Very important.
Very important.
Well, I love this concept, and I'm really looking forward to this. And everyone out there, you come here to learn how to stay healthy. This is one way you can how to stay healthy. And you're making one great point after another, Dr. Dennis. The economics of healthcare, the cost and everything is something we really all need to talk about. I think if we put our heads together, we could all figure this out from
Well, people are
top
finding
to bottom.
that their premiums are up 40%, 60%, and so forth. It's absolutely uncalled for. And if there'd been better financial planning, there's some rumors to the effect that when the Affordable Care Act was originally discussed, there were some economic figures thrown out which were withheld because they were so high. If you see what I mean?
Yeah.
They thought this is never going to pass if we got this information, but it's coming true. But those are issues that can be solved. They really can. And what you need to do, at least my personal opinion, is to maintain the things in the Affordable Care Act that are viable and effective for the population, and then do some very significant improvements.
Definitely. And I wanted to also ask you a little bit about, so everyone knows where to find out the information. We'll give it out one more time as well. We're ripping through so much information here that I wanted to get this out there. Just kind of we can set a little background where you come from. So as everyone knows, I'm an FAU alum, 07. And then, a lot of the doctors I work with are involved with the medical programs, which has grown substantially over the last few years. Great job there. I mean, I know the rankings have went through the roof at FAU, and everyone's talking about the nursing program and the resident program now as well. Looks like you got a great president there who's really behind this medical program into the future. And
John Kelly has been an incredible addition to the structure there, and his motto is unbridled ambition, and that's exactly what we have. There are 11 colleges in FAU now, at about 37,000 students. And just focused on the medical school for a second, we got our initial accreditation in the spring of 2011, and within 2 months had a class. We've now admitted 7 classes. We've graduated 3 classes already. We get on average 4,100 applicants for the school, for the 64 slots. And there are now residencies in internal medicine, surgery, emergency medicine, neurology, and coming up in psychiatry.
Dr. Dennis, just hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll talk a little bit more about FAU's medical programs on how to stay healthy. How to stay healthy. It's a question asked by many people and answered by few. On How to Stay Healthy with David Dipino, I'm going to bring you the latest in health news by interviewing top doctors from South Florida and around the world. Tune in on Fridays at 5:30 p.m. right here on WWNN Radio 95.3 FM and 1470 AM, the Health and Wealth Network, to hear the latest health treatments and my curveball question of the hobbies and passions in life doctors pursue when not providing medicine.
All County Healthcare, Inc. is locally owned and operated, serving the Tri-County area, Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward counties for the last 25 years. The practice of medicine is changing dramatically. All County Healthcare, Inc. still does it the old-fashioned way, where our nurses and healthcare professionals come into your home to service your medical needs, providing you the fastest and best care possible. For more information, call 954-717-7027. And remember, Medicare Home Care is covered by Part A of Medicare with no out-of-pocket cost to you. It's your decision, and only your decision, on what healthcare agency you use. Call today. All County Home Health Care, Inc. at 954-717-7027. License 200999096.
And now back to How to Stay Healthy, your weekly doctor's interview and prescription to better health. Thanks, everyone, for coming back. And we joined with Dr. Michael Dennis. Dr. Dennis, we were just talking about FAU's awesome medical program, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about where you see it going in the future.
Well, there is some discussion about increasing the number of people in the class. We're at 64 right now, but as I said a minute ago, we get over 4,000 applications for that 64 slot. What's appealing about that number is that the students are really friends of each other, and they work together. If you get to 100 or more, it gets a little bit amorphous. So that's a very very attractive sort of thing. The other thing which is attractive about the curriculum, and it's one of the few in the country that does this, is that the students are able to meet with patients within the first several weeks. See, when I went to medical school, you spent the first 2 years dealing with test tubes or dissecting frogs or something like that. Excuse me for bringing that up, but that's what we did.
We like that, though.
And we do it. And you never saw an individual. So finally, in your third year, and there were a couple of people in my class I remember who finally met a patient and said, "Wait a minute, I'm uncomfortable doing this." So they went into other fields where they didn't have. You've got to. The patient is the most important thing. That's why you're in medicine, is to make that patient better, and to also keep your own health too. That's another factor in our program, is that we recognized that there are a lot of pressures on physicians. Probably more so now than sometimes in the past. There are economic pressures in terms of the amount of money that it takes to get to that position through your full training. There are pressures after practice in terms of paperwork. For example, David, the average physician in practice in primary care he or she has to add 1.5 FTEs, full-time equivalents, just to handle the extra paperwork. Plus there's the legal issues and so forth. So we're focusing not only on educating our students, but also focusing on their wellness too, so they understand the need to really focus on their ability to have a long, steady practice. The other thing we're doing is trying to focus on the needs of the community. This region has a looming deficit of physicians. And I won't go through all the numbers in terms of what we're expecting in terms of deficits, but it's dramatic. So we need to maintain a physician force here and then grow that force. So we're trying to find people who are interested in staying within this region. Another reason for our residencies, which we developed, and I mentioned those just before the break, is that if we can graduate them from medical school and then give them the opportunity to train in a residency program, chances are about 76% they will stay in this region.
Right here in South Florida.
Right in Florida.
Not go off to Minnesota or Boston.
We're very proud of the fact that our graduates have gone to some very excellent programs.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm a Harvard graduate, and some went to Harvard, some went to Yale. I'm not sure why they'd choose Yale.
Hey, Dr. Ricotta wouldn't like that.
I know. It is, yeah. But, some very Case Western and so forth. Yeah. No, I mean, Yale's a wonderful program.
From Harvard, we had the chief medical officer, Dr. Frank Wittenberg of Florida Medical Center, on here about a month ago. Everyone remembers, so he'll like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
no, those are excellent programs.
No, definitely.
Harvard, Yale, and Case Western, and University of Pennsylvania, and so forth.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that in addition to those who've gone to those locations, they'll come back to this region, because we particularly need people in primary care, family medicine, OB/GYN, and so forth.
I knew you were going to say primary care.
There's a tendency, as you might imagine, because of the cost of medical education, to pick a surgical specialty, because that tends to have a little higher remuneration and so forth. You can pay off your debts faster and so forth. But we're also working on the process of improving the payment schedules, if at all possible, for those in other fields, so they can get the same reaction too.
Great work.
So we're very excited about the medical program, and we have a wonderful faculty. One of the greatest things about it is that there are over 900 volunteer physicians who work with our students in the community. These are clinicians who are in the community who are volunteering their time to help train our students.
900. That is fantastic. Great job over there.
And we have a very
FAU.
nice consortium of hospitals that we work with that include St. Mary's, Bethesda, West Boca, Delray, Boca Regional, Cleveland Clinic's involved, so forth.
So that's across different organizations. So that's great to see too.
Yes, nonprofits and for-profits.
Unbelievable.
Yes, exactly.
That is fantastic.
Well, you're connected with Tenet. You know all about the Tenet
and
Hospital.
anyone's welcome to come on this program, but I am connected with Tenet. Everyone knows that. And we were talking about Dr. Ricotta is one of the faculty over at FAU, new faculty, so that's great too. We only have about 5 minutes. I want to touch on one other thing for the next minute. Doctors Without Borders, we've heard about it. You've worked there. Can you tell us a little bit about the program?
Yes, I think one of the delights I had in practice, and I had my surgical practice out in Santa Barbara, and I'll quickly tell you that I think my interest in medical education started really early, because as a second-year resident at Stanford, the head of the Department of Surgery and the head of the Department of Public Health came to me and said, "We want you to start a PA program here at Stanford, physician assistant program." I said, "What are you talking about? I'm a resident. I have to be here at 3 in the morning doing all." I said, "No, we'll redesign your program. You have plenty of surgery time, plenty of clinical time, and so forth." And so they gave me the time to do that, and I did. I got a grant from NIH, started it in 1972, is still ongoing. So I think my interest in education and in service started really early. And one of the delights I had as a practicing physician was to be able to go overseas and do pro bono work on children with birth defects, cleft lips, cleft palates, and so forth. And these poor children, have no access to any repair work whatsoever. So to do that, and of course, when you're doing it for nothing, everybody loves having you there. And I got to go to many different countries and found out things that I wish were better known. I was in Iran, for example. The Iranian people love Americans. If you forget the theocracy and all the other sorts of things, they really admire Americans, what they're trying to do. And there's a very young population in Iran and so forth. I was with Doctors Without Borders, with one of the countries in Southeast Asia, and they're just incredibly supportive of that kind of work. I took care of a fellow, for example, who had amputated his thumb. He was a sawmill worker. And normally you would either in this country, you might take the big toe and move it up to create a thumb, or in another case, you might move the index finger over to the thumb position to make an opposable digit. But his index finger had also been damaged. The only non-injured finger was the little finger. So I moved the little finger across his palm to give him a thumb. Would I have done it in this country? It had never been done before. No.
Wow.
Certainly not, because it hadn't worked out well. You know where I'd end up. So right in front of a court. But so you can be a little bit innovative. It did work out beautifully. I went back a year later. He came in with a soda can and went, "Watch this, Doc." he crushed the can right there. So working for Doctors Without Borders, and there are many different organizations. For example, I went to China, northern China, with the Billy Graham Evangelical Hospital Fund. And there are many churches involved in African clinics and so forth. Certainly the Catholic Church is very involved in South American clinics as well. So we got a taste of all of that. And I was able to visit all the continents working that way.
That's so nice, and thank you for giving those people confidence in their lives, because it's a confidence booster when you help someone who has deformity, or in that case, losing a thumb like that.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are manual.
I wrote about that. Of course, now it's a part of the literature, so it's done on occasion, and so forth.
We got about another minute. You also write for the Sun Sentinel, where I used to write. But you're a monthly writer, or piece? You doing
they started
editorial?
something about 3.5 years ago called the South Florida 100, and they picked 100 quotes influential people. I don't know how I got involved in that, but they're politicians and business leaders and so forth, and mayors of cities, and we all write once a week, and it goes online Friday, and then they print about 16 or 17 of the articles on Sunday in the paper.
That's
but
fantastic.
You can write about basically anything you want to. Mine, as you imagine, about a third is medicine and 2/3.
I'm going to look for that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Dr. Dennis, thank you so much for coming on the program. We have to have you on again. We ran out of time, but we'll definitely have you on. And remember everyone, Future in Medicine Summit, October 12th and 13th. Look up PBCMS on the internet and you'll find out more. Thank you for listening to How to Stay Healthy.
Thank you, David.
For a prescription to better health from the top doctors in the medical fields of cardiology, neurology, orthopedics, sports medicine, and primary care, join us each week on the How to Stay Healthy show.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. All County Healthcare, Inc. is locally owned and operated, serving the Tri-County area, Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward counties for the last 25 years. The practice of medicine is changing dramatically. All County Healthcare, Inc. still does it the old-fashioned way, where our nurses and healthcare professionals come into your home to service your medical needs, providing you the fastest and best care possible. For more information, call 954-717-7027. And remember, Medicare Home Care is covered by Part A of Medicare with no out-of-pocket cost to you. It's your decision, and only your decision, on what healthcare agency you use. Call today. All County Home Health Care, Inc. at 954-717-7027. License 20099096.